Today we're going to try and upgrade the antenna on this V168 Max. Has pretty good range already. I just feel like messing with it and seeing if I can make the range a little further. Right now it goes about 4,000 meters or 4 kilometers. Well, it says 5 kilometers. I think I get about 4,000 meters. I think that's how the remote reads. But and that's pretty good for a cheap drone. I only paid $135 for this drone on AliExpress, and Amazon they're a little bit higher, but I actually have seen them down to like 158, 165, something like that on Amazon. But they're very good drones. It's a 2S battery. It has the built-in screen on the remote, so you don't have to worry about using your phone or hooking that up. And they go very far, and the camera transmission is very good considering the price. The only issue I don't like about this drone compared to like my DJI drone or something like that is that it does not have a 3-axis gimbal for the camera. So you can see a lot of moving around when the wind hits and stuff like that in your camera transmission. But that's okay. For the price, I'm happy with it. And because I didn't pay very much for it, I'm going to go ahead and tear it apart, and I'm going to add these where the antenna hooks up. These have the SMA screw-on piece, and I'm going to mount that somewhere up here on the top of the remote. And I haven't decided which antenna I'm going to use yet. Well, no, I guess I have decided, because I'll have to use this one because it's the only screw-on piece. I guess I could connect that instead of connecting the SMA adapter piece here. I don't know, we'll tear it apart and see what looks like the best choice. First thing we're going to do is take out 6 Phillips screws. They're all the same size, and I just use a Phillip head screwdriver, and you have one here, one here, one here, and then matching on the other side. I recommend using some kind of magnetic tray to hold your screws. These things love to jump off the table and never be found again. Once you get the screws out, you can simply grab these little pieces. Those are the clips that hold your little controller buttons or arms right there. And you can just kind of spread them apart and separate it pretty good. Now, I'm not going to unhook anything that I don't have to unhook, because last time I was doing this on a P7 Max and I unhooked some stuff, put it back together, and it never worked again. It never would connect to the drone. So I've learned that only unhook what's necessary. I could pull this whole top cover off right here just by simply unplugging those cables right there, which looks pretty easy to do. But I don't think it's necessary. The antenna wire, see if you can see, it clips on right there. This is the antenna wire right there, and it just snaps into place. And I'm just going to take, these are called NX wires. See if I can get this camera to focus. They just snap right on. That's what they look like right there. So I'll pull that one off and snap this on in its place. And then I'm going to drill me a hole somewhere up top here and mount this somewhere in there. I haven't figured out exactly where I want to put it yet. And then I'll just put the controller back together, and I can simply screw this piece on and have this new antenna sticking out of the remote. And hopefully that makes a big difference, but we'll try it after I get this done. So I popped a couple of screws back in there, and one on this side right there, just to hold the remote back together, because I've decided the best place for me to put this SMA is kind of right in this area. So I'm going to take my grinder with the cutting wheel and kind of cut those tabs off and just give me a nice smooth spot to mount this SMA connector. But I'll show you the finished product after I'm done grinding and smoothing that. Before I start drilling on this right here, I'm going to open it back up and I'm going to remove the old antenna and make sure there's nothing in the way of where I drill a hole, because there is a motherboard that sits in here and I don't want to hit anything with the drill bit and mess that up. The best way to take this antenna out is to get you a little pick or something and unclip it from right there and try to just pull straight up. You don't want to pry and mess up any parts of the motherboard. And then you can take that pick and just kind of pull up from this corner right here. And I'm going to try and pull it out through the top. That way I'm not fighting getting this big wonking antenna piece back behind the motherboard and all that. I've also realized that I need to drill my hole just in this top piece and stay away from the bottom piece, because this motherboard sits flush right here, and even if I drill a hole and get that mounted in there just right, I don't want the metal part of the connector to touch anywhere on that motherboard. So if I can get it up just a little bit, I think that would be the best way to go. So I'm going to try and just drill a hole as close to the very front of this panel as possible to get this the furthest away from all these pieces right here on this motherboard. I drilled my hole exactly the same size as this right here, and I did that intentionally because I want it to be kind of tight to where I can kind of screw it in from the backside. And then of course I'm going to put my lock nut and stuff on the top side, and I'm just testing the hole from this way, but it'll actually come through the other way. But I just wanted to note that you don't want that super loose in that hole. You want to be able to kind of thread it in. It just gives it a little extra strength and holds it in place better. There's the finished product. See, and I don't know if you can kind of see, I had a little issue right here with it being super close to where my control stick is. I just kind of bent it a little bit, and I think it's going to clear it just fine. But we'll see when it's all put together. Now, I'm just going to fasten this little Inex connector, or IPEX connector, whatever it's called. I'm going to fasten it there. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little hot glue on the wire right there and glue it down to the motherboard, just so this thing doesn't get wiggled or pop off in any way. It'll kind of, just a little extra security. And I'm also going to put some electrical tape over this computer chip right here. It looks like this ribbon that goes to the screen lays right on top of it, which is probably fine. I mean, that's the way it was when I took it apart. I don't think that it has been hurting anything, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I'd rather go ahead and put something over that now to make sure nothing shorts out or anything while I have it taken apart than have to deal with something later. Okay, so I got the antenna snapped on, and I stuck a couple of dabs of hot glue right down there just to kind of hold it in place. I don't know if you can see that hot glue. Yeah, there you go. I did it in between the metal connectors so that, you know, it's just better to not be touching any metal. And then I just put me just a simple old piece of duct tape underneath that ribbon. I'm going to fold it down kind of like so. It might look kind of janky, but nobody's going to be seeing inside of this. And now it's all ready to just snap back together and then screw my antenna on and test it. So I got everything put back down, but I have already noticed one problem. Everything's snapped in good, but my control sticks are not centered. And just trying to feel them here, I've got all that, it stops. I think it won't go up any. Like when you push it up, it won't go up. I believe this wire is underneath that little cup, so I'm gonna have to take it back apart and figure out something about that. Everything else works good though, so quick little fix and we should be back to going good. Okay, so what I ended up doing was, first I tightened this up just a little bit more. I didn't have it all the way flush in there, so I just tightened it from the top, and then I drilled a little hole. I know this camera is blurry and it's hard to see, but I drilled a little hole right there and I ran a zip tie through it and just kind of bent that wire a little bit more and zip tied it up to that. So hopefully that'll kind of hold it out of the way. We're going to put it back together one more time and see if that takes care of the problem. I think it will. Okay, we've got the finished up product, and I have screwed on my antenna here. Let's just see all that. I think it looks pretty good. And I've got the drone turned on there. Let's see if it connects. And we should get camera view, but it will tell us our RC signal, or our transmission strength, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Oh, and by the way, I've got, after fixing that wire through there, my switch works great now, up, all around, everything does good with that. Okay, and we're on. Let me turn the camera up. Okay, camera's good. And you can see the RC strength there. I've got all my bars. So let's see. And the drone arms. So it looks like everything's ready to go. Now we're going to test fly it and see if the distance is any better than, I was getting about 4,000 meters, so we're going to see if we can go any further. So just got back from flying the drone, and I have to say I am really excited. I flew the drone 5,200 meters, and this thing only calls for 5 meters, and 5 kilometers, and I flew it 5,000 meters, which would be 5 kilometers, but I flew 5,200 meters, so a little over 5 kilometers, and it did great. The only reason I turned back and didn't go even further is because I was starting to lose my video transmission. But so just to clarify things, this antenna does not work for the video transmission. It only controls the RC strength, you know, the strength that your remote has to your drone. So it's not gonna improve your, this works off of like it's not Wi-Fi on this one, it's like a 5G, but nonetheless this antenna has nothing to do with that. That antenna is going to be right there, and I didn't do anything to change that one. But just my RC distance alone, I've been having trouble with this drone cutting out at like 4,000 meters. So it was getting to where like it would say not connected and stuff like that, and I would have to like walk, you know, 20 foot forward or whatever, or 20 foot closer to the drone just to get connection back. And this time it flew to 5,200 meters and I still had 2 bars of signal. So I have to say it worked great, and I'm super happy with the modification. And I'm gonna start trying it on like the FPV, the camera transmission next. So stay tuned and subscribe to my videos. I do all this stuff for free, so just people subscribing to it makes me want to do more. So definitely like and subscribe to like the video and subscribe to see more. Here soon I'm going to upgrade the camera transmission antenna and see if that makes it go even farther. But definitely well worth the money. I think I paid like $10 for this antenna on Amazon, and maybe like $5 to $7 for this little piece right here. And I actually got like 5 of these pieces for like $8, I think. And then this was like $10 for that antenna. And they have a lot of different types of antenna. I might even experiment with changing up this antenna, since I can just unscrew it from right there and swap them out. But I'm definitely happy with the results of this, and I'm going to keep making more videos and showing you what I do to the camera, and maybe even swapping out that antenna to a different style. This is a omnidirectional antenna, and I'm no expert on antennas, but I don't know. It was just a cheap one that was able to be here in 2 days, so I went that route. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day.